What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rage, back with another Outriders WorldSlayer video to bring to you, and today we are bringing you the Critnomancer 2.0, baby. That's right, we are revisiting a sniper build that we did all the way back in around about November, December it was last year for vanilla Outriders, and while that had such immense kind of firepower that was able to bring to expeditions and all that kind of good stuff, we now have brand new endgame content, and we have a tanky enemy known as the Arbiter, and I wanted to be able to find a way to be able to make sure that snipers have a place in when it comes to that kind of content. Now this one will be slightly different. While it is the Critnomancer, it will be primarily focusing on being able to land those critical shots, but we will be using different weapons to be able to make sure that we can do it to that effect, because unfortunately Embalmer's Rage did take a massive hit. So before we get into it, make sure you have dropped a like and subscribe on the channel. Did you know that only 16.4% of you are currently subscribed to the channel? It would really mean the world to us if the rest of you were able to subscribe, ready for all this brand new Outriders content that's going to be coming your way. So do me a solid, make sure you hit that big red button, and let's get right into it. Alright, so first and foremost, we'd like to look into the gear as per all kind of builds when we actually go through it. Now, first and foremost, in terms of weapons when it comes to this, we are using automatic sniper rifles. Now, I did try testing this out with bolt-action sniper rifles, but it's just not consistent enough to be able to take down Arbiter as it currently is in its current state, because it doesn't necessarily have enough ammunition, and unfortunately it's very slow firing to be able to get there. It's very unforgiving, and especially considering how many mobs that are going to be coming our way, especially when we're doing all the levels that are getting up to it beforehand, like the troves and all that. Unfortunately, the sniper rifle, the bolt actions just really suffer when it comes to that, at least in solo play. I will definitely test it out to see if I can make a co-op kind of version work as well, but as it currently stands, it's just not the play, so therefore we have to go with automatic sniper rifles. Now, they did get a bit of a buff from what I can tell, and from what I understand, they have had a crit multiplier increase, and it looks like maybe their base damage has potentially been brought more in line with that of like assault rifles, and it allows us to be able to do even more damage when we combine the two of those together. Now, the best part about it is because of the massive clip size that we have on this automatic sniper rifle, because there are two variants to be able to take into consideration. Granted, this one is a legendary, but if you do go for an epic like this one, you can go back and forth between a full auto and a burst firing one. Now, the only real difference that you can tell between the two is the crit multiplier and the magazine size. So if you have a quick look in between, going back and forth between a legendary, and granted they are one level difference, so maybe the damage is pretty much negligible when it comes to it, but there is a 100% crit multiplier difference between the two, and there is exactly 18 rounds difference between the two of them, which is half the Icarus to be able to get down to the burst firing automatic sniper rifle. Now, primarily you do want to focus on a full auto one, but you can definitely go back and forth between the two depending on your personal preference. So I have found a lot of use in using the Icarus automatic sniper rifle due to the fact it is full auto in nature. It comes with a scope which makes it fairly accurate in the first place, but I will get into the accuracy side of things in a second. But it also comes with our crit damage, and it comes with our long range damage as well, which are absolutely perfect rolls when it comes to this. Now, unfortunately, I would have wished that it came with status power as well, but as it currently stands, I'm happy with the crit damage, I'm happy with the long range damage, and I can forgo the status power, at least on this weapon. Now, this does come with a tier 3 mod of Ultimate Anomaly Surge, where critical shots spawn an Anomaly Energy Blast that deal 1.7 million points of damage in a 2-meter radius, and this happens every single 3 seconds. I was also fortunate enough to be able to get Weakness Trap on this, where shots cause explosions dealing 1.3 million points of damage and inflict weakness on enemies within a 5-meter radius. So, with all of a sudden, we've got a bit of a splash there, mechanic there going, just from actually landing some shots and doing what we're supposed to be doing in the first place. So this will help us to be able to take down elites, at least with the mod damage, and it will also help us to be able to soften up weaken up some enemies as we go through the mobbing side of things. Now I have paired this up with ultimate freezing bullets because we are going to be using the Borealis set bonus, so therefore I want to get that consistency to be able to land every single target that I'm going to be hitting for that 1 second. I'm going to be inflicting freeze on them to get that plus 50% damage bonus, but we'll get into that shortly because we're going to be looking into the armor very quickly after we've gone through the weapons. Now the alternative that you can actually go for, if you don't want to go for weapon mods, which I do think are actually a good, a really good thing to be able to use, at least in bossing anyway. It is quite good in mobbing, but sometimes it can cost you rounds, but we are using a lot of things to be able to boost up the amount of rounds that we can actually support in this gun, so therefore I don't consider this to be an issue. What you can also do is then go for the burst variant, which I had to get very kind of lucky to be able to get something along those lines, which obviously is a purple, but you would have to be able to go out and find something. Other good alternatives would be something like a Decadence, which is also a burst version as well, and this does come with crit damage, but it comes with skills, life leech and status power, so it doesn't come with anything like long range damage, and Relativity Theorem isn't too bad of a mod, but this gun will vary in terms of usefulness depending on that Apocalypse mod that you do get. So like for example with this one for target rich environment, I don't consider that to be a bad mod in any kind of means. I don't think it's a great mod, but it's definitely not too bad, so therefore I actually found a lot of good use out of this gun, so therefore the Decadence isn't a terrible option to be able to go for. In this purple one, I do have ultimate freezing bullets, I have anomaly enhancement, and I also have Gravedigger's Frenzy. Basically all the good rolls that I wanted to be able to get into a gun to increase the damage as much as possible. It also came with crit damage, long range damage, and status power, which is absolutely perfect for the kind of rolls that we are looking to be able to grab. Now the interesting thing to be able to take it from this is because of the Transmog system, every single rifle pretty much has a different scope. Now when it comes to this, I've pinpointed, I've kind of highlighted the 5 choices that I would preferably go for depending on what you have access to in your Transmog library. But when it comes to it, some of them are very interesting, some of them are very unique in terms of how they look, and some of them just don't function very well at all. There's some that actually block off kind of like almost half of your screen, so I definitely would recommend steering clear of those. Other things that we've got to note are when it comes to the kind of like the outside of the scope as well, because we will always be looking down these scopes to be able to do the amount of damage, but it blocks a lot of our peripheral vision. So in the case of like the Decadence, you can see there's a lot of stuff that pretty much happens on the outside of the scope. So therefore you lose a lot of spatial awareness when it comes to it. So while the Decadence does have a really good reticle, I would probably steer clear of that a little bit because it does kind of limit the amount of things that you can be able to see on the sides in terms of enemies that are rushing at you, and you have to rely a lot on the minimap. Other kind of ones of note, the Vortex has an absolutely stunning reticle when it comes to it. It's probably my favourite when it comes to the reticle, but once again this does have a little bit on the outside, so therefore it does hinder our spatial awareness when it comes to it. The Icarus is a very good one as well because it's very clear, it's lit up every single time, doesn't matter what scenario you're going to be looking at, and I'll probably recommend the Icarus as being a really good one to be able to go for. The Earthborn is absolutely top tier because it has a very nice clear reticle, and it doesn't take up much of the space on the outside as well, so therefore I would probably recommend, if you do have access to the Earthborn Renegade DLC pack, that you do actually go for that. And lastly, the one I wanted to really touch on, because I went through all the epics, I went through all the blues, I went through all the greens, I went through everything basically just to be able to get an idea of what are good reticles. If you do have a whiteout Type 19 automatic sniper rifle, that is also a great reticle to be able to go for. It probably has the tidiest when it comes to the thinness of the scope. It has probably one of the better reticles as well, and it allows you to be able to have that spatial awareness at the exact same time. So if you do have access to the Whiteout Type 19, which is a purple automatic sniper rifle Transmog, I would probably recommend starting with there and then being able to experiment with the others. But this is a personal preference, but I wanted to give you that information because it took me a fair few minutes to be able to go through everything, to be able to put the skin on, to back out the menu, to be able to look down the scope, to see an idea, to be able to go into the Transmog, to be able to do that. And you can imagine how many weapons there are to be able to do this, so I wanted to give you this information so you can decide for yourself. And before we go into further, this video is actually sponsored, so here's a word from our sponsors.
Now a quick sponsored message. If you don't have enough time, nerves, or any good teammates, but you still want to have all of the cool weapons, armor and mods, we suggest you visit this website, www.deving.net. They boost in Destiny 2, The Division 2 and many others. Leveling, expeditions, custom streamer builds and guns with high rolls and so on. You can choose what you need. The boost works with account sharing and self-play, so they do everything for you without cheats or bug abuse. We have tested this service in the past ourselves, and we can recommend you these guys. They can be trusted. This site has been working for many years, and it's got a lot of client reviews and payment methods. You can check this yourself, and with the code Babylon, you'll have a 15% discount on all their services. If you didn't get it or you have any questions, then feel free to contact an operator.
We're going to skip past the pistol slot because we're not interested when it comes to the secondaries, the backups or anything like that. This is going to be a sniper build. Just know that you can use a single shot rifle when it comes to this, but I would probably stay clear of that. I'm going to do a little bit more work on that. I know there was a clip that went around Reddit in terms of using Mage's Rage before it got patched, where you were able to one-shot Ocreal, and it was an absolute stunning clip, and I genuinely would recommend having a look out for it if you do actually come across it. But unfortunately, I don't think it's possible anymore due to how anomaly enhancement required Mage's Rage to be able to stack up that much in the first place. So while you can hit some absolutely absurd numbers still from following the exact same process, I don't think the one shot is actually possible anymore. I could be wrong on that, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've managed to do that. So let's actually have a look into the gear, and let's get into the armor side of things to be able to find out why this is so good as it is, and why it's able to delete elites. So when it comes to the headpiece, I have stayed clear of the crown, so I've gone for a Deadeye's skull. Now the reason why is because this came with two of the brand new sniper perks that did come out with WorldSlayer, which is going to be charged up and collateral damage. Now charged up is very underrated when it comes to this build. Most of the time you won't be using this, but if you do take the time to be able to line up some shots when it comes to elites and you do your tap firing, the amount of damage that this will put on top of your gun in terms of the bullet damage is absolutely insane, and that allows that goes onto all the multipliers as well. And it doesn't have a cooldown, it just requires you to be able to look down your sights and just tap fire. So when you get used to the rhythm of it, charged up is actually really good in terms of a mod, but most of the time when it comes to mobbing you won't be using this, you'll just be holding down the trigger to be able to do the spamming. So this is just purely for taking out bosses a little bit quicker. Collateral damage is absolutely stunning of a mod, but I do wish that it did a little bit more damage. It basically does what we've always wanted the sniper rifles to be able to do. It kind of helps out with the cold snap side of things, but if you remember back from the Critnomancer, where we had the Icicle Storm and we had Winter's Blast, all that kind of thing, with Embalmer's Rage on our Iceberg sniper rifle, collateral damage is there to be able to spread damage rather than just spread status, and I genuinely think it is a great mod to be able to go for. I do think that the 3 meter radius is kind of pitiful. I do wish that was bumped. I kind of wish that the damage would also be bumped as well, but hopefully that's something that we get in time. But they are pretty good as it currently stands, and it will help you out massively when it comes to mobbing. I have also gone for Euthanizer because we are primarily a firepower technomancer, which means that we are going to be using our blighted rounds, and therefore we will need additional modifiers towards the statuses that we're going to be inflicting, which in this case will be toxic, so therefore we do need to be able to have Euthanizer to be able to do more damage. Going from there, we do have the chest, which is going to be the Robe of the Borealis Monarch. And now this, I've got an absolute god roll when it comes to this, which comes with Icicle Storm, and it comes with Captain Hunter. Everyone knows what Captain Hunter does. It increases your damage against elites by 16%, and this is going to be one of the better things to be able to put into your build to be able to take down the elite. So Arbiter stands no chance as soon as you put Captain Hunter onto your build. Icicle Storm is there to help us with the mobbing side of things, so our Cold Snap is there to be able to give us a bit of breathing space, and it also doubles up as a way to be able to take down mobs. So with Icicle Storm, it's 100% recommended. You definitely kind of need this in this build. And Anomaly Echo is there to be able to give us a firepower boost, and also if we do go for the purple one to be able to go with our Anomaly Enhancement, it also gives us some nice stats when it comes to Anomaly Power as well, but it is primarily there for the firepower, and it allows us to be able to pair really nicely with our Blighted Turret to be able to get a weapon damage bonus as well as a firepower bonus. Going from there, we do have the legs, which is the waistcloth of the Borealis Monarch, our second of our 3 pieces, and I've replaced it to be able to go with To the Bone. Now, I did have this with Alchemical Mastery, but because the main weapon that I was using doesn't have status power, and I only have two pieces that do have status power, I did the maths on this. It just didn't 15% of the almost, well, less than 90%. ended up being a smaller amount of weapon damage compared to going for To the Bone, so therefore I replaced that straight away. Alchemical would be so much better if we were able to fit a few more pieces in terms of armor onto ourselves, onto our equipment, to be able to benefit from that, to be able to benefit from the weapon damage, but unfortunately as it currently stands it's just not enough, so therefore we have gone for To the Bone. To the Bone gives you, while the skill is active, your anomaly damage is increased by 15%. This increases the amount of damage you will be doing with your bullets because blighted rounds is treated as anomaly damage, and we also have weapon damage bonuses on there due to going for ultimate anomaly surge and weakness trap, so that will also benefit from the additional To the Bone, so we're getting a 15% damage increase on that as well. We have freezing boost because we will be doing a lot of freezing when it comes to this build due to our weapon and also from our cold snap, so we get another 8% on top of what we already have for our Borealis Monarch, and our high velocity bullets increases our sniper weapon damage, which is all we're going to be using for this build, by 12%. Going from there, we do have the gloves. Now, the gloves of the Borealis Monarch is the last of our 3 pieces, and I'd recommend grabbing this one. You can go for the boots, but I found that going for Shatter, you should only go for either the gloves or the boots in most cases, because you're kind of sacrificing a little bit of firepower. And it kind of sacrifices the rolls as well. So I'd recommend either going for the gloves or the boots, but in this case I've gone for the gloves with max health, cooldown reduction and long range damage. Comes with Shatter, comes with Trick Up the Sleeve, which I've put on there due to being able to replenish our skills, replenish our bullets as we go around killing mobs. And Radical Therapy to be able to deal 8% more damage against enemies afflicted by Toxic. Lastly, I do have some purple boots on here to be able to go for firepower and long range damage. Unfortunately, it's not God Roll because it does come with skills life leech. I would probably recommend swapping that out with something like status power. But I have gone for headbanger, I've gone for extra bullets. Extra bullets is actually really nice and allows us to be able to bump the magazine of ours over 70 rounds when we tie this up with our Ascension tree and our skill tree. And then we also have the cycle on there because we will be getting health regen as we shoot. So this stacks up to 20%, and that is a very nice 20% boost to the amount of weapon damage that we will be doing. Going back to Headbanger though, critical shots from sniper weapons deal 10% more damage, and each critical shot stacks a 60% damage bonus up to 180%. This bonus is applied to the next non-critical shot but lost when missing a shot. The reason why this is so good is it helps to be consistent in terms of the amount of damage that you will be doing, and it becomes in clutch when it comes to Arbiter. The reason why is because Arbiter has a massive crit box, but actually because we have an automatic sniper rifle, we do have a little bit of recoil to be able to factor in, as you will have seen in the clips in the background, and as it starts spreading out from you holding down the trigger, therefore there will be a time when we're landing non-critical shots. So as we gain our stacks and we start getting up that way, this will just make it a little bit more consistent when we miss the head and we end up hitting a body shot, to be able to deal even more damage and to be able to make up for that non-crit that we just missed. So that ties up all the gear, so let's get right into the skills, and I'm pretty sure you could have guessed this by now, but we have gone for a standard set, which is a Blighted Turret, Blighted Rounds, Cold Snap. Blighted Turret is purely there as a distraction, but it is also there to be able to stack up weapon damage from the use of our Pax Tree, as well as into our skill tree, and we also have Blighted Rounds to be able to pierce straight through armor, to be able to deal even more damage, and to be able to apply Toxic, to be able to apply some of our modifiers. Our Cold Snap is there to be able to give us a bit of breathing space, slows down some enemies, and allows us to be able to detonate them to help us out with mob clearing. Before we get into the class tree and move on from here, I do need to go over some slight changes in case you find out that, especially with +2 leveled Arbiter, that you're running out of bullets. Now what you can do instead is, because Cold Snap is going to be doing absolutely nothing for you when it comes to the +2 Arbiter, is I would recommend swapping for Fixing Wave. What you can then do is, and this is how I currently have it set up, is I have a set of gloves for my standard mobbing, which work absolutely fine, and then I go for another set of gloves of Borealis Monarch, which come with Shatter, Quartermaster, and then I do have Kingslayer on here because I couldn't match up the Apocalypse mods, but essentially you just want another set to be able to swap to. The reason why is because if you go for Quartermaster, this being able to refill your magazine all the way up to full, you can instead go for something like Spare Mag to be able to give yourself another round, but that requires you to be able to do the reloading, and I'd probably steer clear of doing that because that's a little bit of downtime, and also that means that you still then have your Cold Snap, which is still doing absolutely nothing against the Arbiters. Therefore, at least with Fixing Wave, you're able to get yourself a little bit of healing going, just in case you have a panic button kind of moment, and then it also refills the amount of ammo that you have in your magazine. So I do think that that's probably the best way to be able to go around, but this is for mobbing, and then this is for bossing. So let's go back to our skills, let's swap that around. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the class tree. Now this is pretty much a standard when it comes to going for firepower builds. So we have grabbed as many BR8 impact amplifiers as possible to be able to give us the amount of weapon damage that we need. Now all of these were boosted up in the latest patch. They used to be 8%, but they're now up to 15%, which is absolutely huge. So we do have the 4 of these to be able to give ourselves plus 60% weapon damage. We have also grabbed the Sniper Master to be able to increase our sniper weapon damage by 20%. We've been able to reduce the distance to considered long range by 3 meters by 2, so therefore we are now at 12 meters to be able to be considered for long range, which is absolutely great, and allows us to be able to deal with a variety of targets when they get close. We have also then gone for Sniper Adept to be able to increase our sniper weapon damage by another 12%, and lastly we've grabbed the 2 sides of power to be able to increase the damage received from all sources by 10% and allows us to be able to deal an additional 10%. Now if you were going for the alternative sniper rifle, which did come with anomaly enhancement, I'd probably recommend grabbing Grand Amplification to be able to boost up your anomaly power even further, which means that you then get more of a benefit when it comes to your firepower. UT14 clips is there to be as standard to be able to proceed a little bit further. And we have also grabbed Purge to be able to deal even more damage to enemies afflicted with Toxic. Our Empowering Antenna allows us to be able to, every single time we activate our Blighted Rounds, or to be able to chuck out our Blighted Turret, give ourselves weapon damage for ourselves and our allies by 30% for 8 seconds. And then we've also gone for critical damage with Havoc Nexus. We've also gone for Exposing Toxin, and we've also gone for Marks for Execution to be able to make it even more damage. We've basically gone for as much damage as possible. Now the other kind of sleeper when it comes to this is Charge Gunshot. Now I did have 1 point left over, and I definitely could have put it in Grand Amplification. I could have also put it into something like Max Health, and I could have also put it into Blur Screen. The reason why I do go for Charge Gunshot though is sometimes when we do actually have to reload and we do run out of our Blighted Rounds, because sometimes the weapon damage mods just unfortunately land at that moment in time where they just kill everything, and it means that we can't restock ourselves. Charge Gunshot allows us to be able to deal even more weapon damage in that first place, and it allows us to be able to deal with Arbiter just in case we do, in case we forget to be able to swap to our Fixing Wave, or in case we actually do go through 2 additional mags, one additional mag of Blighted Rounds, and then when we do our reload, our first bullet damage is then going to be 200% increased. So I do think that Charge Gunshot is a great mod to be able to go for in some cases, but I understand that's not for everyone, so feel free to be able to move that around and be able to put it somewhere else that you do fancy. When it comes to our Pax Tree, we have gone for the sniper route, which means that we have gone for Initial Striker to be able to increase our firepower by 10% for 5 seconds. When we activate a skill, we have gone for Brain Dead to be when we activate our Decay or our Gadget skills to increase our weapon damage by another 15% for 5 seconds. We've gone for Painkiller, which allows us to be able to stack up our health regen, allows us to be able to get that 20% bonus from the cycle. It also gives us some survivability when we're out and about in the field. I've gone for Necrotic Tissue to be able to increase the amount of damage our elites take from sniper weapons by 20%. And then lastly, we've also gone for Twin Reaper, where sniper weapon shots have a 75% chance to trigger an echo, dealing 35% of the damage dealt by that shot. Now, from my understanding, I could be completely wrong on this, and please let me know in the comment section down below if I am wrong in this, but when it comes to the echo, it is treated as a separate damage source, which means that it then can be amplified by your from your damage multipliers, so something like Euthanizer or Shatter, and it's able to deal even more damage when it comes to that. Unfortunately though, when it comes to the echo though, if the echo is the thing that does secure the kill, that does mean that you're not being able to replenish your ammo, so therefore it will actually steal that kill, similar to how a weapon damage mod would do that as well. And lastly, because we are using an automatic sniper rifle with the sheer amount of bullets that we will be throwing out, it allows us to be able to consistently trigger this Twin Reaper faster than if we would be using a bolt action rifle, so therefore it gives us a massive damage bump just from having Twin Reaper in the first place, and I do think that that's better than going for Dissection. Lastly, we do have the Ascension Tree. Now, I have enough points here now that I can just pretty much go for everything. But if I was to tell you and you had less than 100 points, which is pretty much what I've got, you definitely want to go for anomaly damage, and you definitely want to be able to pick up your weapon damage and your long range damage. Lastly, you definitely want to be able to go into the Prowess Tree, and you want to be able to pick up things like magazine size, you want to be able to pick up damage against elites, and you want to be able to pick up critical damage. Now, it's pretty much kind of standard as to why we're picking up the critical damage and the damage against elites, but as you can see, from the magazine size from 25% here, from the 30% that we have over in our armor selection, and 50% when it comes to our class tree, we're boosting our magazine size by 105%, which when I back out of this and I go here and I look at my Icarus, the thing that used to be 36 rounds in a single magazine is now 74. And that's almost on LMG kind of terms when it comes to the amount of bullets that I'm able to throw out. And it fires out fairly quickly. As you can see, this is a fairly decent kind of speed when it comes to the amount of like rounds per minute, and therefore it allows us to be able to consistently keep those rounds going. It allows us to be able to consistently pump out the damage, and when you tie that in with Twin Reaper, it allows us to be able to throw out even more damage echoes as well. Now, when it comes to alternative mods for this build, there's not much I would really suggest. Now, what you can go for is things like Splash Boost to be able to give yourself a little bit more, depending on the amount of the weapon damage mods that you have when it comes to your sniper rifle. You can use Splash Boost to be able to deal a little bit more damage and extend the reach of your blighted rounds. So that is an alternative, but it's not really one I would preferably recommend, but it can be used if you do get it as an Apocalypse roll. You can also go for Alchemical Mastery if you're able to get more pieces than I have when it comes to status power, so that's definitely a great shout to be able to go for as well. Virulent Compound is also a great option as well, because that gives us even more damage when it comes to elites and allows us to be able to detonate them, to be able to spread the statuses just from being able to kill them as well. Kingslayer is also a great shout, because boosting our firepower by that much for 10 seconds is also a massive thing, and we are also planning to land critical shots on elites pretty much every single bit of the time, every single time we go up against them, so therefore it is a massive firepower boost just from that. And then lastly, it's just a couple of tier 1 mods really, where we can have things like Long Winter to be able to increase the radius of our skill of our Cold Snap by 50%, and you can also grab maybe like a spare mag or a rapid reaction if you do find that you're losing your rounds a lot faster. And Critical Analysis isn't a bad roll as well, it just allows us to be able to bump up the amount of critical damage that we're going to be doing in the first place. And there you have it, that is everything to do with the Critnomancer 2.0. Let me know in the comments section down below, is this something you're planning on picking up? Have the clips in the background done enough to be able to tempt you away from going for anomaly power builds? And just know that firepower builds are now alive and healthy, and they're pretty much in a great state to be able to go for. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family as always for their continued support. It really does mean the world to us. Their names will be at the end of every single one of our videos. And as I always say, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.